Happy Easter to everybody. So, look, before I start, we had a very unfortunate, sad incident happen to one of our scouts. It was a hard week for all of us. It's Matt Turpining, and our prayers go out to Matt and his two daughters. It was a hard week. The light was watching a community of Westfield come out to support this family. Watch our organization support the Turpining family. Our prayers go out to all of them. It was a hard week. And something we had to work through. Something we'll never get over. We'll get through it. And we'll always be here for all of them. So I wanted to open up with that because I thought it was important that I know everybody knows the funeral's already taken place and things have happened, but it was a very tough week, and I don't think they're in my daily prayers. All right. Time's yours. Fire away.
Some of the guys, I can't remember how you describe them. Blue players. First, how many do you have this year? It seems like it's a thinner draft.
I don't know if it was say thinner, because there's some depth. I don't know if there's as many, and you never really know at the end of the day till they go play. Like, everybody's got to go play. And there's always some unexpected blues that show up from different rounds. But I would tell you that, in the top part of the draft, in years compared, at least at this point, I don't know if there's quite as much high end, but I do think there's a lot of depth in this draft, especially in the, when you start looking at 2 through 5, there's some real good depth. So, good players. I don't know if there's many high end, but it's good players in the draft.
So, how many first round grades do you have on that?
Well, look, there's 257 picks, I think, in the draft. We don't have 257 players on our board. We'll have enough players in the first round to draft. When our pick comes up, whether we're at 14, whether we're at 10, whether we're at 25, we will have a player we like that'll be good for the Colts that we will take.
Chris, how do you weigh the athleticism, traits, upside that a player might have versus seeing a guy who may not have the traits and they're a really good football player? I guess how do you marry the two?
No, that's always an interesting, dynamic that you're dealing with, that you have a really good player that doesn't quite hit the measurables you want them to hit. So you've got to be able to weigh in, all right, do we think this player can still perform at the level where we're going to draft him? And so the higher you take a player, the more you're going to expect from him. And so if he's lacking something, you've got to be able to say, okay, he's got something unique in it. There's something unique, all right? There's something unique in his physical and play style that's going to give him a chance, if that makes sense to you. The one thing I'll say about any player that makes it in our league, they've got something unique about them, whether it's athletic ability, whether it's strength, whether it's size, whether it's instincts. There's got to be a unique trait in the player for him to make it and then really ascend. And the more unique traits you have, the more chance you have to be a blue player. And it's a good question by Chap with, how many blues. I mean, I think if you can just look at history and know that the real difference-making players, guys that we thought were going to be difference makers that they didn't turn out to be, guys that we had no clue were going to be a difference maker and they end up being. I mean, they come from everywhere. But the traits, look, the athletic traits are important to us. They always have been. There's been instances where we've gone with the exception, but we just would rather not have a team of exceptions. You know, and the second you start taking the exceptions, when you end up with a bunch of players that are exceptions.
Do you know how many blue players there are this year?
Well, that would take a real that would freaking be unique now. For me to be able to call out, no doubt, how many blue players that will end up in this draft, that would be really unique. No, I do not. I don't.
With so many players opting out of pre-draft testing and stuff, and you don't get like a traditional evaluation on them, how much you guys rely on like GPS and zebra technologies and all that?
Yeah, no, it's really important. Like, we're getting the data, okay? Whether they understand this or not, we're getting the data. There's too much out there now. So we're getting stuff on them. Do I like it? No, I don't like it. I would rather everybody do everything. As a matter of fact, I love the guys that go and just show up and do everything and let it all hang out. The guys that don't do things, and I'm not going to say we won't take them, but there's going to be questions. It just raises some questions that we have to get answered between now and, when the process started and the draft. And we ask a lot more questions on those players. I think sometimes that's not what I don't think they realize that. I think sometimes they think, well, okay, I'm not going to do anything because my tape's everything. Okay, great. Your tape is everything. But this other stuff is factors that we're going to include in the process. So we're going to get it, whether it's off computer vision that we use or the zebra technology or telemetry, which I think is outstanding. We're going to get what we think the numbers are.
Chris, I got two questions for you.
Yes, sir.
When you said there's 257 players, but not on your board, is that typical for you to have less than that, or does that make this year unusual?
No, it's typical. We'll end up, I think 20 and 21 were a little unique. I think we had about 150-ish in that area. We'll end up between 150 to 175 total. I think it's better. Like, we're in the eliminate. I think I've said this before. We're in the elimination game. All right. I think it's easier to scout. All right. Here are the players that don't meet our criteria. Okay. Whether it's physically, character, play style, they just don't fit schematically. Like, let's get them out of the way. All right. We know these guys don't fit. All right. Then let's work with the set that we know do fit. And then we hone it down between, scouting, coaching, character, like all the things we go into, which cuts that list down to, 150 to 175 players. And that's starting out with, I want to say when we started in February, we went through 2,200. All right. Then we cut it down to, on the actual board, to 155 to 175 will be our final number.
You brought in, I believe, I don't know how much you can talk about this, 2 quarterbacks for your visits. Is it just 2? And if so, why, given that you already signed a quarterback, why those 2?
We always, I think if you look every year, even when we had Andrew, we brought, quarterbacks in. I think you do that all the time. And we also, believe it or not, we worked out a couple. We went and visited a couple. I think you do that every year. The one thing you can see with the quarterback position now, you better get to know them in the draft process because you never know when it's going to come back around to you. You just don't know. That's the one thing I always kind of giggle when a quarterback turns us down. Like, no, we're not going to visit with you. Okay, 3 years from now, we'll see how that plays out. Because you just look at it. The changing of teams now, the lack of patience, guys are and everybody's developmental curve and journey is different. So you never know when it's going to come back around to you.
I don't think anybody thinks quarterback is the first priority, but there also is a level of uncertainty there in the long term. And how much will that reality affect how you look at it in this draft?
I think every year. You don't ever want to pass up one pass up a player you think's got a chance to be really good. I think you can say it for every position, but especially at quarterback. Like, I mean, I think Green Bay has done, just in their history, done it, back to Ron Wolf, to Ted, to Brian now. Even when they didn't need one, if one hit on the board that they liked and believed in, they would take him. And I think you've got to keep an open mind to that.
Chris, why did you all release Matt Gay at that time, and I guess what into that whole decision?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, Matt's a good kicker. He's still a good kicker. Matt's still going to be a good kicker in this league. I think a lot of it had to do with Spencer. Having Spencer last year gave us a real, insight to his talent level. Then he leaves us and performs at two different teams. You know how hard that is? That's difficult now, to go to two different teams and have to perform. That is not easy. You're working with a totally different operation at both different snapper, different holder, and to go in and be successful. This had more to do with Spencer than it did really with Matt.
To follow to that, I think Spencer made 5 NFL field goals, obviously rookie season last year, small sample size. So do you plan on bringing more competition for that position? How do you reach that this offseason?
Well, we usually always bring in 2 kickers as it is. And, we're always looking for a guy with upside, kind of like last year with Spencer. I give our special team coaches all the credit for that. They identified, Spencer last year and said, look, he's got upside. We didn't necessarily have a vision that this is how it would work out, but you never know. So they do a great job finding guys with some upside. So we'll look for a guy with some leg strength and upside and think we can work with and see how it plays out.
Chris, with the draft is about just getting the best player, the best value at the spot. Occasionally, the best player coincides with what you need. You've talked about tight end. Is this a chance to take care of the tight end position? First round, second round, however you want to do it?
I think there's no question. Look, I think we all know we like a group we have, what their subset, what they can do. Like, they're good. We have 2 really good blockers. We have a young kid that we think's got speed and some upside. But saying that, if we got a chance to take one that we think can really make a difference, we will do it. I do know this, though. You can't chase, like when you end up chasing a need, okay, or something that is, that's when you make mistakes. So we'll let the board play out the way the board should play out. Of course, like in the first round, I can, you can already see like how we have it stacked versus how the outside world has it stacked. I promise you, it's not the same. It's not. They don't have anything on the line. Like, I always laugh when everybody says, well, you reached or you took him too high. Well, by whose standard? Like, by whose standard is that criticism coming from? So we line it up and we draft them as, we think is best for our team.
Do you guys do a mock draft to see how, in your minds, the draft might fall to you?
We have a good idea. Our pro staff does a tremendous job knowing what needs are for each team in front of us and behind us. I mean, that's what allows you to kind of navigate the board and when you move back or up, what you think you need to do. And then there'll be there's a set of players that, a group of players that you have them stacked and ranked. You say, okay, we can move, or we need to move up because, like, this is the last really good player that we have ranked at this tier that we think is worth this value. I mean, all that comes into play on draft day. We have a good idea going in, though.
So last year, 14 offensive players. You just couldn't believe that, could you? Is it
No.
happening?
No. Rich Eisen will say he called it, which he did. But no, every year's unique. You never know when the run's going to happen. Watch the draft. It's funny to watch. Like, all of a sudden, you'll see I think you really start to see it in maybe the back part of the first into the second round, where there will be a run. Somebody will take a position, and then they will just start peeling off. And because there becomes a run on certain players. And I'm guessing, last year, all of a sudden, the run of the offensive players, and people are like, uh-oh, if we don't. See, I'm trying to think how I could explain it. Like, when you look at the board, it's not like you have, like, each round has some strengths in it. So let's say center. You had 3 centers up there high in the draft, and then all of a sudden, the next highest ranked center you have is in the 6th round. Like, that could happen. All right? All right, then you're starting to look at, across the board, and you say, okay, these are the same value of players. If we need this position badly, and it's the same exact value across, we better, because if we don't take one now, well, we're not going to get one that we think at a talent level. So all that comes into play, the runs. I think that's what happens a lot of time. And everybody's board's different. I promise you, if you went to 32 teams, you would get, I would tell you, the top 100 players, you probably can get, like, the scouting world is flat. I mean, that's the one thing that I think you see nowadays, is because we all got tape. And I would tell you, the top 100 players, I bet you if you sat down and wrote them down, you could probably get 85% of them right. But how they're stacked and actually ranked on 32 different boards, they're going to be different. Just is.
The draft in the short term?
No. I'll always do the right thing for the organization and the team. We need to win, but no, I'm not built that way.
Chris, when it comes to quarterbacks, offensive program started up today, what things will you?
Starts tomorrow. That's okay.
Fair enough.
Yep. I just want to make sure we're accurate.
Yeah, but how do you, I guess, evaluate when it comes to quarterbacks, like what traits or what things you want to see to determine who wins the job?
I mean, that'll be a decision between, Shane and, Jim Bob, Mr. Irsay, and we'll all get together, and who gives us our best chance to win. I think it'll be a great competition between both of them. Look, sometimes, I want to say this right. Like, sometimes you got to be bad before you can be good at playing this game. Sometimes you got to struggle before you can be good. All right? And we got 2 guys that have had some really strong flashes. And they've had some bad moments too, and that's okay. I think both of them will be better because of this, and I think the team will be better because of it. Competition brings out the best in everybody. And I think we'll see that. Whether, to sit here a day before we even start the offseason and have a vision of how, you don't want to begin with an end in mind. We're not going to do that. It's like the draft. You don't want to begin with an end in mind. You got to let things play out the way they should and compete, and who gives the team the best chance to win. If I'm a betting man, both of them, at some point, both of them will help us.
What kind of feedback did you get? What kind of feedback have you gotten from Anthony's off-season work?
Good. It's been really good. I talked to Tom last week for a long time, and just encouraged, very encouraged.
With that position in the draft, you talked about being open-minded. I guess I'm curious how open-minded you are. Did you see yourself drafting one early, like first or second round, or is it more of a later thing?
If there's a player that we deem is worthy of it, absolutely. Why wouldn't we? Yeah.
So then there could be a world where it's a 3-person quarterback competition and you draft one early.
Sure. You want to write that story, you can.
You would love that, would you?
Look, we all create our own narratives. All right? We all do.
So that's about tight end. Can you characterize just generally the class?
It's good. No, it's a really good class. And I think at every level. But it's a good class. The one thing, funny when if you look at some of the better tight ends in this league, and they come from everywhere. Kelsey was a 3. Andrews was a 3. Kittle was a 5. Like, they come from everywhere. Bowers was a 1 last year. Like, they come from everywhere. But it's a good class, and we think there's some good depth in this class.
Is there a bigger need at defensive tackle that maybe we've been talking about?
You can never have enough. You think you know my views on the front. Both of them. O-line, D-line. You can never have enough. You cannot.
Even an edge, I mean, you have.
You can never have enough.
Contract for a long time.
You can never have enough O-line, D-line. Over the course of a season, it is like they're just not hanging out on the street corner. Like those guys are those are very difficult to find.
With there not being any first-round picks traded yet this year, does that lead to more uncertainty or less uncertainty in what happens ahead of you?
I don't know. I mean, I think as we get in the draft day, it'd be interesting to see, because in years past, people have been really aggressive to get up to one, to get the player they wanted. That hasn't happened for whatever reason. I can't answer that question. I can't answer whether it's going to create more uncertainty or not. I mean, there's a reason nobody gets mock drafts right. Like there is every year. There's now everybody tries, but there's a reason. Nobody has a crystal ball to know exactly what's going to happen on draft day. You have to be able to adjust and work through the problems quickly in your mind, how you're going to adjust on draft day.
Chris, with all the work you've done, from pairing to 2,200 to 175, whatever, when you miss on a player, first round, third round, do you see, was there a common denominator, or did you just miss?
Yep. So, I mean, we look hard at this. I mean, look, I probably beat myself up more over the player we don't get, right than we do the ones we actually do get right. Just history will tell you that there's a few things that come into play. One, character. Okay, did we miss the character of the player? All right. Two, instincts. Like instincts is always a big one, and it's the hardest one to evaluate. It really is. It's the hardest thing to see because you got to watch a ton to get it right.
You mean the player processing things?
Yes. Can he process and do what, can he play the game outside the X's and O's? Like there's the X's and O's that the coaches draw up. And then what are they going to do outside of that? How are they going to perform outside of because that's the game. Like the X's and O's are great, but at the end of the day, it's what happens outside of those X's and O's. I think Darius Leonard had the best instincts of probably, or at least as good. I've been around a lot of great players, but his instincts were rare. They were rare. Think of the game-winning plays. Like, do you think Flus drew up punching the ball out at the inch line with 30 seconds left on the clock versus Houston? No. That wasn't drawn. Hey, we're going to draw this play up, and Darius, you know what? You're going to strip the ball on the inch line with 30 seconds left in the game to give us a chance to beat the Texans. No, that's outside the X's and O's. That is Darius being a difference maker. He did it a few times now. It wasn't just, oh yeah. With the game on the line, that's what I'm talking about, instincts. And then, did you miss the athlete? Is the guy good enough as an athlete? Like those three things to me, it's the character, it's the instincts, it's the athletic talent. Are they at the enough level?
I guess that,
Chris, what traits are you looking for from tight ends specifically?
Well, I mean, look, you'd like to have a guy that they have to be able to play on all three downs, but one that can affect the middle of the field. One of the most underappreciated players to ever come to this program is Jack Doyle. He is. The guy was great. He was great. I don't think everybody recognized that, but all he did was block the edge consistently, do all the dirty work, and catch every ball thrown to him. That's all he did, and gave us a real threat in the middle of the field. Was he a dynamic, going to average 15, 16 yards a catch? No, but he was a damn good player. I want somebody who can be consistent and actually be a guy that the defense has to, account for. The three-down part is big because if that guy, and look, all of them have to be functional enough to block. That's, to me, the hard one to find. The second you don't have a guy that can block is the second the coaching staff is griping and saying, we got to have a guy that can block. But to be able to play on all three downs, to be able to be functional in the run game to where you don't necessarily know it's always a pass, when he's in the game. And then to be able to, finish and make plays at critical times and give the quarterback an option in the middle of the field.
Chris, how do you, last one here, how do you view where you guys are at linebacker after letting EJ walk? And I guess.
Yeah, it's, I know y'all think it's a position we've been pretty good drafting and developing. I give our coaches and scouts a lot of credit for that. We drafted JC that we think is going to be really good. Now, he had some offseason surgery, but, when we took him and moved him from safety to linebacker, we thought the transition was really, really good. And don't forget now, EJ Speed, it wasn't like he came on right away. It took him a little time. Zaire Franklin did not come on right away. Great special team player, but eventually became a linebacker that was a good player. We got some young kids, Alubi, who we really like. We got McGrone. We got some young players we like. So, and we think the draft's got some good players. So we'll have some depth and competition, hopefully, in the draft.
What did JC have?
So he had a shoulder surgery that he needed to get fixed. He ended up playing at the end of the year with it and got it fixed after the season. He'll be ready by camp, I know. I think he'll be able to do some stuff here at some point.
Did he
But
have surgery that you want to share?
golly, you're going to go into depth on this now. Yes, he did have surgery on it. Yes, he did. But he'll be ready for camp.
Any others you want to share?
No, that was the only one that I accidentally brought up.
Not the only one. The only one you brought up. And on that note.
I dang chap. That's my punishment for coming at night. You know what? Next year we're going to go at 7.
That's the whole point, Chad, asking the surgery.
Thank y'all. I will see y'all Thursday.